ate noodles with no packet.
I worked with so many young artists, and we were all kids moving so fast, and we all wanted to succeed so bad. And it wasn't until I was 40 years old doing some intense therapy that I realized I was so driven by the fear that I wouldn't be enough.
He sold your company for $1.1 billion, which I don't think people realize. It's a fucking lot of money. At 39 years old, roughly?
Yeah. I was about to turn 40.
You talk about laying on the beach with your belly out.
Yeah.
I mean, with a significant amount of money in your bank account without the same...
$1.1 billion. And the man who made it doesn't like talking about it. That right there should tell you everything you need to know about Scooter Braun. Here's the thing nobody is saying out loud. One man, one dude from Greenwich, Connecticut, quietly extracted over $500 million from the music industry. Not by releasing an album, not by going on tour, not by writing a single bar. He did it by controlling the people who did all of that. Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, Kanye West, Demi Lovato, J Balvin, the biggest names in music history, and every single one of them ended up walking away from him. Some quietly, some loudly, and one of them declared a public war that shook the entire industry to its core.
No cap, by the time this video is done, you are going to look at the music business completely.
No cap, fam. Yo, what the fuck, man? This nigga Scooter Braun, is he one of them boys?
Different, because what Scooter Braun built wasn't just a management company. It was a machine designed to find young talent, lock them in, and extract maximum value while they were still too young and too hungry to understand what they were signing. And here's the wildest part, he did almost all of it legally. Let's get into it. Scooter Braun wasn't just a music manager. At his peak, he was running one of the most powerful entertainment companies on the planet, Ithaca Holdings, backed by Goldman Sachs, valued at over $1 billion, with a roster that read like the Grammy nominations list every single year. But here's what really went down. Behind the sold-out arenas, the platinum albums, and the billion-dollar headlines was a pattern that critics, former clients, and industry insiders had been whispering about for years. Young artists, long contracts, heavy control over touring, branding, and ownership, management percentages taken off the gross, not the net. And when artists finally matured, started asking harder questions, started wanting more control over their own careers, the relationships ended. Every single time. The $500 million didn't happen by accident. And the fact that Scooter Braun sat across from an interviewer in 2024 and admitted, for the first time publicly, that he felt a lot of guilt about how fast he pushed young artists, that's not nothing. That's a man who built an empire and is now quietly reckoning with how he built it. To understand how all of
You guys, we're moving so fucking quickly here. So you're telling me the man's is now having some sort of midlife crisis, talking about how he exploited all these young children? Shaitan is alive!
this really went down, we got to go back to the beginning, back to Atlanta, back to a college dropout with no roster, no label, and nothing but a phone and the audacity to use it. Let's rewind to the early 2000s, Atlanta, Georgia, the center of the hip-hop universe at that exact moment in time. Lil Jon is running the crunk era, Ludacris is on every radio station. Jermaine Dupri's So Def is one of the most influential labels in the game. And right in the middle of all of this is a kid named Scott Samuel Braun, a Jewish kid from Greenwich, Connecticut.
What the fuck did I say, bro? Was he one of them boys? Yeah, he was.
Who had absolutely no business being in these rooms, and yet somehow kept ending up in all of them. Scooter. The nickname came early and stuck for a reason because that's exactly how he moved, always sliding into spaces before people even realized he was there. Was born in 1981. His father was a refugee from Hungary. His grandparents were Holocaust survivors. He grew up in a household where the weight of that history was felt every single day. His father told him and his brother every night before bed, "You're different, you're special. I hold you to a higher standard every night, no exceptions." That pressure, that chip on the shoulder, that need to prove he was worthy of the privilege he was born into, that became the engine that drove everything Scooter Braun would ever do. He went to Emory University in Atlanta, and while he was there, he stumbled into party promotion almost by accident. He noticed a nightclub, walked in, asked how much they'd pay him to bring people through the door next week, and that was the beginning. Before long, he was throwing Thursday night college parties and spending all his earnings on Tuesday nights at the Velvet Room, a club run by a promoter named Alex Gidowin, who taught him how the real money moved, what the door value was, what percentage of the bar he should be getting, how to build a crowd from nothing. And at those Tuesday night parties, Scooter started meeting people, real people, industry people, rappers, singers, managers, executives. He wasn't approaching them. He was letting his work speak. Let your work be the reason they want to meet you. That was his philosophy from day one, and it worked. Jermaine Dupri heard about his parties and reached out to him, not the other way around. Jermaine brought Scooter in at So Def entry level, but it didn't matter. He was 19 years old inside one of the most important labels in hip-hop, learning from the inside how the business actually functioned, how deals were structured, how artists were developed, how money moved from...
That's so crazy. It's so crazy to see that this is, well, not... okay. One point I'm trying to make is, I guess, as somebody who has thrown his own parties as well, yes. It's the same ideology that Gary Vee talks about is you're the cool kid if you're the one who throws the events. If you throw the mixer, you throw the function that people congregate at, you end up being the cool person because you bring people together. It's human nature, social, you know?
Touring to merch to publishing to masters. He was watching the whole machine operate from the inside, and he was filing every single thing away. By 20 years old, Scooter was the youngest VP in So Def history. Let that land. 20 years old, VP, at the label that helped define an entire era of Atlanta hip-hop. But here's where it gets crazy. His grades at Emory had collapsed from a 3-point-something GPA to a 1-point-something because he was grinding so hard in the industry. The university brought him in and told him he needed to stop and focus on school. A dean sat across from him, told him the odds of him making it without an Emory degree were 1 in a billion. And that was the exact moment Scooter dropped out. He went home, started SB Projects at 24 years old, and began building the roster that would eventually make him one of the most powerful men in music. His first signing was Asher Roth, a white rapper from
God damn, this nigga found Asher. Wow.
Pennsylvania with the skills to be credible in hip-hop. Scooter had a vision. Find the artist who could speak to college culture the way Eminem spoke to suburban culture. Asher fit that mold. But the second signing changed everything. It's 2008. Scooter is sitting at his computer when someone sends him a YouTube link. A 12-year-old kid from Stratford, Ontario, Canada. His mom had uploaded videos of him singing Nayo covers in their house. No production, no label, no industry cosign. Just a kid with a guitar, a God-given voice, and a natural charisma that jumped through the screen. For real, Scooter knew immediately. He said later that from the moment he saw that video, he knew that was the kid he'd been looking for. But here's what most people don't know about what happened next. He didn't just DM the kid or reach out on social media. He Googled the church in the background of the video, called school boards across Canada to track down the family, found Patty Millette, Bieber's mom, within 24 hours, and cold called her. Think about that. A 25-year-old stranger from Atlanta calls a single mom in Canada and tells her that her 12-year-old son is going to be the biggest pop star in the world. Most parents hang up immediately. Patty didn't. She had a conversation with Scooter for over an hour that first night. Scooter flew the family to Atlanta, organized a meeting with Usher, and just like that, a 25-year-old party.
This nigga is crazy with the hunger, dude. Going like, because first of all, how do you track down somebody? Because back then on YouTube, it's not like Justin put his address on the video. He literally had to figure out, yo, how do I? Okay, so he looked at the church and said, okay, this is the name of the church. Let me call the church. Let me call this. Blah blah blah. Go through the chain of events that led to calling Justin Bieber's mom, and that's a big piece of information that people leave out. I mean, listen. Aside of him being one of them boys, we have to give him credit for just having this sheer will of wanting to win, dude.
Promoter with one artist on his roster became the co-manager of what would become the most famous teenager on the planet. But let's be real about what this means from a business standpoint. When you sign a 12-year-old, you are not just managing a career. You are shaping every financial decision that child makes for the next decade. You are in the room when the record deal is structured. You are deciding which endorsements to take and which to leave. You are setting the touring schedule. You are controlling the pace. And you are taking your percentage, 15 to 20% off the gross, not the net, for all of it. By 2012, Justin Bieber was 17 years old and one of the most recognized human beings on earth. Baby had crossed 1 billion YouTube views, something that had literally never happened.
First of all, bro, you're going to take 15 to 20% off of the gross amount. Not what the artist netted off the gross. So before the artist even puts the money in his pocket, you already get paid. Because the amount that's grossed is a lot more than what is netted, because you have to go through all the expenses, right? Because that money that the artist is going to get, then he says, this is my money, right? So I'm going to pay you for the money that I've earned. Wrong. Scooter said, I'm going to take the shit that comes in. Before it lands in your pocket, I'm going to get paid. I'm going to take the money that comes in. And then everybody else, you can pay them. And then you can keep what's left there at the end. Oh my God, that's so smart and dirty all at the same time. Same thing with Diddy. Y'all niggas are going to say, oh no, Diddy's a bad person. These are all just shrewd business people, bro. To go and show you that the world of business is cutthroat and dirty.
Before. The tours were selling out arenas across every continent. The merchandise was moving in volumes that rivaled established legacy artists. Brand deals were stacking. By the time Bieber turned 18, he had released multiple platinum albums, headlined multiple world tours, and become a global entertainment brand worth hundreds of...
Right, and it wasn't just like the nigga Bieber just blew up like that, bro. If you look at the Justin Bieber documentary, it shows you how they started, dude. Doing little concerts, going to radio stations, singing. Nigga would bring his guitar. It was a grizzy, bro. It was a grizzy. It wasn't just like, yo, the nigga popped off like that, dude. No, you still have to sell the product, dude.
Millions of dollars. And through every single moment of that, Scooter Braun was taking his cut off the gross. Every dollar that came in, every concert ticket, every endorsement check, every merchandise sale, his percentage never stopped. Now here's where things started getting complicated. By the time Bieber was in his early to mid-20s, cracks were showing. He was publicly struggling. Mental health, identity, faith. He canceled the Purpose World Tour mid-run in 2017, citing exhaustion and a need to prioritize his well-being. The narrative that started circulating in industry circles was that he had been overworked, pushed too hard, too young, for too long. No criminal charges, no formal lawsuit, no public takedown. But here's what Scooter himself admitted in 2024, quote, I feel a lot of guilt because I worked with so many young artists and we were all kids moving so fast and we all wanted to succeed so bad. He said if he could go back, he would have had a therapist on the road for all of them. He would have slowed down. He admitted he didn't know to go inward, that none of them did. That's not the statement of a man who thinks everything was handled perfectly. That's a confession dressed up in careful language. Action spoke even louder. Bieber eventually distanced himself from Scooter's management. He sold his music catalog for a reported $200 million, a move industry insiders widely read as financial restructuring, not abundance. He stepped back. He rebuilt his life on his own terms. And when Scooter officially retired from management in 2023, the relationship with Bieber was described as not the same that it was, a slow exit, a quiet ending to a relationship that started with a cold call.
Yeah, because the nigga extracted everything from this man's entire life, bro. What are you talking about, man? How is that gonna end like mutually assured between the two of these people, bro? This nigga essentially put Bieber to slave labor, bro.
And made both of them extraordinarily wealthy, but seemingly cost one of them a significant piece of his youth.